turn to strangers, but they stay fools. I'll break the chains, take the pain to save you. Save you. Baby, I've been high and low. All the feelings I won't show. It's better if I let you go. You'll be better off alone. Pretty little fears I got, second guessing every shot. I won't lie.
Welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. You're joining us this Wednesday for a NACE Star League Overwatch. We are getting ready to jump on into the action. We're going to have a NACE match first and then get on to a Mountain West match later on. Right now it's NACE versus George Fox University. Boise State competing in Week 7 of the regular season, and things are really coming to a head. We'll discuss that a little bit in just a few seconds with my co-host. I'm your main host, Jacob Palmer, and I am joined by the one and only Rich Rad, joining us live right now from his studio. Rich Rad, it's great to have you back with us as always.
It's a pleasure. Absolutely. We got a little bit of an off week where I wasn't here. You got to take care of all the action, and now I get to just mosey on my way back for another exciting game, though, because like you said, the stakes are extremely high here, and these teams have everything to play for.
Yes. Tell us a little bit exactly about what those stakes are, because this kind of determines playoffs, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the last week of the NACE Star League. As you mentioned, everything is coming to a head here, where it's essentially just right on the sphere, the cusp of where Boise State is going to enter into those playoffs. Whereas, they would have to go through the LCQs, as you had mentioned. We talked a little bit before going into this broadcast, and again, the significance of them taking this and solidifying that playoff spot.
Yeah, they don't want to be going into LCQs, because then you have to slog through a whole competition. Even if you make it, you're going up against the top seeds if you make it into the finals. There is one other team, though, that could prove to be the spoiler, George Fox. Now, mathematically, they cannot get into playoffs, but they could very well deny the Broncos that opportunity. And then another thing we have to look forward here today is new patch notes just dropped. A lot of balance changes coming online for this very crucial match.
Well, and the other part of it, too, is we got to see a little bit of the, recent competitive play from Tier 1, like being able to see NA and EU specifically. Korea has also been among the mix. I know that one of your students is already processing through that whole competitive level of, just Overwatch in general, so that's got to be a wild ride for Clear. But now looking at what we've been able to see from that top tier live on broadcast, that's also potentially influential. So there's a lot of moving parts here. You take some of those things, you incorporate it into what your, type of play style is now that you see the best of the best using it, and then this patch note drops, and then everything kind of goes a little bit awry. But the big things that I'm focusing on is really just when it comes to a little bit of an adjustment with the Reinhardt. I still don't think we're going to see that. It's been a very Sigma, a Ramatra, and even some Zarya dabbling, and a lot recently what we saw competitively. So there's a slew of things that we can have coming out the doors today.
Oh, if only you were here yesterday, Rich. We had quite the Zarya showdown. Just two fully charged Zaryas.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, it was intense. Well, you say there's a lot of moving parts to this match. I'm going to add just one more part to that, but it's a part that we always expect. It's our very own Doc Haskell giving us the keys to the game in Overwatch for this team to perform at their very best. That's going to be to take fights in unexpected places, don't make positioning mistakes, win your 1v1s, and win your fights before objectives. Brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. And yeah, not too many like huge major nerfs, but a lot of buffs kind of evenly spread out between some of the lesser performing tanks.
Yeah, the ones that I'm really focused on too, not only in the tanking aspect of it to try and potentially change it up a little bit, I still feel we're going to stick very closely to what we've been seeing over this last week from that top tier, but with the adjustment to Orisa's ultimate charge, that might be a dynamic that we can look into. But it's the DPS that I'm really going to want to focus on here and what kind of major changes we see, especially when it comes to the Reaper. Death Blossom getting a nice buff there for that, also having the ultimate cost reduced by 12%, so that's going to be coming out a lot quicker for those team fights, maybe having an opportunity of getting those backline engagements on the supports to completely eliminate them, and then also just the unique adjustment when it comes to the Sombra as well, the impact damage and just destroying breakables while in flight. Like those kind of things I want to just see in actual use and how that's going to formulate. And then of course, when we talk about, you know, either objects being placed or breakables, the Symmetra just rolls right off the tongue with how they adjusted the sentry turrets.
And we got confirmation as to what the first stage we're going to be playing on for Control is. We're going to be starting out on Busan.
Okay. Busan, again, I'm liking it. We got to see a little bit of this, if I'm not mistaken, the 2 weeks prior, you and I, Busan was a very popular one to play. This is a map where I could definitely see a Reaper thrown into the mix, depending upon the specific round we're going to be on, just because it has those flanking angles. Sanctum is the one that I really look to, the drum in the center where you have those pillars that you can mitigate through, some really nice off angles up towards that left drum, depending upon your position, or the counter side where the pagoda is. So a number of things to keep a watchful eye out for. But this squad from Boise State, as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, they know what the stakes are here, and they're really looking forward to solidifying this victory in a best of 5. So they've got a long adventure ahead of them, but I think they're feeling very confident and want to be able to kick that door down and enter into the final top few.
There's one team in the West Central Division with 5 wins, 2 with 4 wins. Boise State is one of those teams, so hopefully they can bump up to 5 and clinch a natural ticket to the playoffs starting right now as we jump on into the match. The gates open and both teams start going charging toward the control point. Starting out on Mecha Base, downtown. Boise
a little
State.
bait and switch there in the night
bait
sky,
and switch
too.
We see Moose still sticking on the Malga. That's been something Boise State's been really fond of, even before the changes that came to him. They really like bringing out the Malga. Mad Merc starts by getting hacked off. They already spend their immortality field, but they already have a good number of picks. Mad Merc just goes out with a triple against George Fox. The team kill comes in just a few seconds, and Boise State moves to the point.
And you can see those 2 significant DPS factors, like I mentioned, with George Fox, bringing in the Sombra and also the Reaper, whereas we have more of this traditional composition from Boise State, nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, as you mentioned, the Malga nerfs are something to really keep an eye on, but if everyone else is still functioning in their composition the proper way, it's not going to be too bad as they go in for the dive.
Oh, Moose. I mean, he's not going to care about any nerfs. He already picks one up against the Sombra, and then the Lucio falls shortly after that. Then Moore was in a lot of trouble as well. He's going to be able to fade out of there, but Boise State taking so much space for themselves, still has control as they go past 30.
And with this Winston, again, they have to have really great communication for George Fox to be able to execute onto this, because Mouse is putting in so much damage with this Malga and just still being able to get the Incendiary off for that sustainability. 2 ultimates now available, and Chosen also approaching theirs.
Kel holding on to this bomb. Just toss it out in the choke. Gonna hold on to it for now, waiting for the push. Now dashes in, almost gets the Tracer, goes in. The recall comes out. He's putting a lot of pressure onto the DPS's first pick for George Fox. They're able to get Chosen, but the bomb goes out right back on to the Lucio. Both the supports now down for George Fox, but even without healing, their DPSs are still doing work. They managed to take out Bagel. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but positioning is deciding everything as George Fox still hasn't been able to touch the point.
Yeah, and these staggers, too. The DPS are getting so low in their health value. That's a big pickup, though, for Chaos, able to get close enough so that they get that great hack as well onto Mouse, and they've completely swapped that over, but there's still a chance here for Boise to at least draw the timeout.
They did try to bring out a cage fight, but it was negated right before it could go down. Matt Merck and Chosen are trying to clean things up. Important, Matt Merck off in 2. The water got clipped by a train. When they say mind the gap, they mean it. Stand back from the platform, please. He learned that the hard way. But Boise State still sitting at 99%, trying to take care of the last few staggers onto the point. Hack is going to go out onto 4 of Boise State, but it's not turning into any picks. The Morva's coming in trying to get back up, but they are able to take out the Sombra, who was the only one on point, and end things at 100.
That's a wicked turnaround towards the end of it, despite there being an opportunity. You get rid of the Malga early, so they've lost that tank, but then now they're going to have this opportunity to regroup. We might actually be able to get to see this pulse bomb that was on the Lucio stick a little earlier. Again, just really getting a nice double dash in here. Seeing if it's this one. Actually, it might be a little bit later. Here we go. This will probably be it. Yep, going in, just sidesteps out of the Reaper, gets the elimination. And again, when you utilize and manage that to focus down the supports, especially to Lucio, you've lost that additional mobility to get onto point, and you have no real solid grouping to recontest. So everything in this so far is playing into the strengths of Boise State, and it's really going to be up to George Fox if they can find an adjustment into the composition as we enter into Mecha Base. And with taking a look at the composition, at least from Boise, no shifts other than really the Reaper, and I'm loving to see if this is going to be a head-to-head Reaper matchup.
We'll love to see who gets that. Yes, that Death Blossom charged up first. It will. Goes in with the charge on the Mongo.
Oh
takes
my!
out the Moira in just a few seconds. And then another DPS falls. That's going to be the Tracer. George Fox getting pushed right back to their spawn in the first team fight.
Well, that stomp damage increase from 45 to 60 is definitely being felt by GFUM. As they now manage to get this point first, it'll be Boise State getting the early advantage and already leaning into this 50% margin where it comes to map mark on the ultimate. And continuing to climb as they're getting these shots from such a long distance and really harassing George Fox back to their point as they dive in.
Oh, but their tank is able to get a first pick onto Chosen. Mapmerk falls next. George Fox is going to lose their Lucio and their tank as well. So Boise State has even things back up to a 3v3. Moose picks up the double. Boise State's trying to keep George Fox back past the choke point. They'll push him back to the spawn yet again, past 25% in their charge.
That's such a massive recovery, too, because when you lose Chosen, that's so much healing. That is your anchor that you really hold on for sustainability, but Mouse gets a couple of early picks, also is able to really time their defensive for the overdrive to keep them alive and allow basically a large bagel to really keep them around that corner, and the AoE healing is more than sufficient.
Tracer almost got taken out when they dash forward, back down to low health. Goes through 4! That buff being shown to its full potential by Cal, and a moat for style between him and Moose. Boise State feeling good about this fight.
There's just an overflowing amount of damage. When you have the Malga putting in so much down this choke point, and then again, even though it's only 15 damage, every little bit counts in a comp like this in a hidden position from Matt Merck.
He is just hiding in the corner, tried to pick up a cheeky one against George Fox. He won't be able to find it. Now Moose goes in with the stomp, trying to mow them down, and the cage fight being brought out as well. He already picks up one. He's going after the other two. They keep piling up, and Boise State holds him at the choke yet again, going past 80.
Ding ding in the ring, and also being able to sport that lovely new Cowboy Bebop skin, showing their dominance here as it's only 10% remaining. It's the last chance for George Fox, as they're gonna have to blitz onto this point, but they're being denied underneath.
Man, that Winston looks like he only had one DPS to back him up. It was a bit of a split push from George Fox. Now the remaining members trickle onto the point. They use the beat to try to survive. Chaos getting focused down by Moose, chased off the point around, and he is taken out in a quick second. Stomp goes on to the last remaining George Fox player. They are down and out for the count. There's a few touches left on the point. It's the stagger coming in from that respawned tank. Can they hold on just in time? Boise State not feeling too much pressure. In fact, Cal's already charged up the Death Blossom again. Going in to take out this Winston. He's used Primal Fury to survive. Final shot for Boise State. They win Busan.
So we noticed the damage increase only by a small margin. We talked about it earlier, and there's the second component of that ultimate change of getting it 12% faster. It is going to be one of those things you really have to watch out for, but there's no surprise that this highlight's going to go in favor of Mouse. The Malga play is an absolutely petrifying thing to come see at you, especially with the increase in damage on that aggression forward. You dive into that, you get 3 stuns, you have that 60+ damage, and then you toss a cage on top of it. Everyone else, basically from Boise State, can just wait for Mouse to take full control of this space, and then move freely throughout it, which even further gives agency to Kel when they're on the Reaper to find that specific target that they want to just shred down.
Thing that stood out to me just on a humorous level was Matt Merck hiding out in the corner, waiting for them to go past the choke point. I felt I was watching Valorant for a second with the way he was holding that angle. And actually, Boise State Overwatch recently tried their luck at facing a Valorant team, so maybe the habits that they learned in that match are dying hard here.
Yeah, I mean, either way, you could just see that I think all of them were in that same mentality because Cal went in with the aggression, and then you had the Malga play on the opposing doorway, and then Matt Merck was in that corner, so they were all playing off angles. They're taking a little bit of alternative game strategy and applying it into this, and I can't blame them because it's keeping their opponent off guard, and they really haven't been able to gain a solid foothold on this to really be able to contest the way that Boise State is playing. And you had mentioned it earlier that this is, again, two teams that are really fighting for that last spot and are the top of the top right now, I would put it. But Boise State is just completely showing them up.
It's exactly the performance they need to pull out at exactly the time it needed to happen. And now we move on to the second stage hybrid. Normally goes over to Kings Row, but we have seen Eichenwald be brought out, I think, once in the season so far. But George Fox does have the choice of stage, and usually when things go to the other team for a choice, it goes on over to Kings Row. Which I'll be very curious to see if it does go on to there, if Boise State goes, because they used to all the time bring out, the Rhine-May wall and Mall combo. That was just kind of their bread and butter, and both of those heroes have been buffed. So maybe that's something Boise State brings out, but they have a lot of strategies that they've brought out there.
Yeah, and there's also just the variety of things. I mean, we've seen some interesting takes where there's Junkrats or Hanzos that have been in the mix of it. You and I chit-chatted about that as well previously and the value that it can bring. So we can see some really unique things brought to this. And again, with the Reaper still having some decent advantages, and again, it's only contributed to the ultimate, I still think having that tempo control, if they can get the damage out fast enough to have those Death Blossoms up as frequently, really is something that you're going to have Boise State start to lean into, because that's one of the things, again, Doc talks about in the keys to the game. Like, there's all these different varieties of things, tempo. Like, if you can be able to get that ultimate up faster, control the space, as you can see in this replay here, it is just no match for an opponent.
You keep bringing me back to the match that happened Monday when you brought out the Hanzo, because there was a moment where I think it was Matt Merck. He was like the only one alive, and Boise State was forced back to their respawn on the first point of Kings Row. He's caught in the hallways looking over the point, and he uses them to sneak around the other team, get into their backline, and storm arrows their two supports from above to be able to stall it out long enough for Boise State to come back on the respawn. So already,
Matt Merck's a little sneak. Matt Merck's a sneak.
He was a fly on the wall, really, that they just were not able to swat yesterday. So maybe that continues to be the case today, as they are just consulting. You can see the smiles on their faces too. I'm hearing a whole bunch of laughter from them as well. They are having the time of their lives in this particular match.
I feel it's like a max roll on the highest level of dexterity for Matt Merck, where it's just like, you know what, I'm going to pick this lock, I'm going to sneak by this guard, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. For all those D&D members out there. Yeah,
he is just completely, I don't know, I might want to check that D20 to see if it's weighted or something, just here with how consistently it's been great for Matt Merck. But no, I'm sure it's actually practice and dedication, and Boise State doing a great job so far. Remember, just to reset the stakes, if they win this match, they have most likely mathematically guaranteed that they avoid LCQ in the West Central Division. And they will be moving on to hybrid, and yep, it's going to be Kings Row again,
no surprise.
Normally I harp on it for not being, the most original pick, but considering how things went yesterday and the extremely exciting match that we saw them in their Mountain West match, I'm actually not complaining too much. I'm looking forward to seeing Matt Merck pull off some more shenanigans here today.
I've already set up a lawn chair in this map, so I'm not going anywhere at this point with how often we see it. We're just going to chill. We'll have like a little fire pit. Actually, I really don't need it because we've got this giant furnace, so I'll just bring some marshmallows and graham crackers and some chocolate over here, and we make some s'mores. We have a good time. Probably incinerate it a little bit. But yes, going on to this map, I'm just, again, looking forward to seeing how George Fox is going to be able to try and counteract this team. Because if they've done any of their history and research when they look at Boise State, knowing this type of opponent, they have full footage of being able to see what is going to be brought to the table and how they're going to be able to counteract it, and their adaptability within the moment to see if they can persevere over them. And with what we've also seen previously as well, with it typically being the map selection after control going in favor of the opponent, Boise State really wanting to be the one to, on the defense, hold the line. Like, they want to set where this mark is. But every now and again, they kind of get a little aggressive and say, all right, we're going to be on the attack. We're just going to throttle. We're not going to have this be a quick one. We just want to run the gauntlet.
They chose to go defense yesterday against UNLV, and thanks to the Mad Merc shenanigans I explained earlier, it was a complete hold on the first point. So the question is, do they match that performance today? And if they are still in the blue on the Alari, which I saw them bring out before, I do indeed think Boise State has chosen to defend first again.
3, 2,
Alrighty.
1.
We can take a look and see if there's any adjustments. This only one was... No, they're going to actually have Matt Merck back onto the Cassidy. Okay. Oh, but Chosen's going to go onto the Echo. I like this because, again, this is having the verticality of this map and the architecture is really beneficial to Boise.
George Fox has changed up their tank, but it still can be a very divey tank, but they need to have that coordination to make it work out. Right now, they find themselves pinned down a little bit by all the damage Chosen's putting on the move. So he lands one with the Javelin right onto the Moira, and that's the vast majority of their healing gone. Now they've got to figure out how to awkwardly push on to the point, split up from their main healer.
Moose is nutty with these javelins whenever I see him play. Gets the D-Mech as well. Now they're just sitting ducks at this point.
The hallway, they just line them up like a fish in a barrel, and Chosen just focus them down with the beam, and that'll be sent back to start for George Fox. And Chosen already, it's been one fight, he's north of 75% on this copy.
That's insane how much value that the Echo really gains in this. But again, the D.Va is a nice counteraction to this because you can take that high ground position, you can use that defense matrix to mitigate a lot of that incoming damage. So there's many things that can be done, but while that's occurring, you still, as you saw from the low ground, have to be very aware of both Matt Merck and Mouse with this Javelin landing consistently.
George Fox tries the same route they did last time, and Matt Merck lands one onto the Lucio this time. Both of the supports for George Fox have been easy picks for the Broncos so far. Lyric now takes out the Sombra. Their tank is now facing a whole bunch of pressure, down to half health, trying to dash on out of there. Death Blossom comes out from a copy by Chosen. It's unrelenting damage placed onto George Fox University, sent back to start yet again.
And the foundation of the strategy from George Fox is good. Like, they know that they need to try and take this high ground and maneuver across and work their way around Boise State. But the problem is that Boise State is just really finding these unique angles, as you mentioned, both supports. And they're going to look to do this again. They've read this beautifully. And whether or not they take this pathway, they're still going to get the jump onto them. Whether it's a solid flank or a collapse, yep, they go right to the point. So now you're going to have to see the rush come in from Boise.
There's a little bit of a despair. No, when they chose an alternate path, they really wanted George Fox to go the same route. Now they jump in with the Terror Surge, charging it up, and it brings the D.Va down out of their mech. Sombra also facing a lot of damage. The Reaper gets taken out. And now there's just the two supports left for George Fox University, pushing them into the corner, and gets a team kill yet again.
And that's so, again, it's so difficult because you have the right idea, and then you try and just go straight to point, so it draws Boise State away, but you have to be cognizant of where they maneuver from, and the fact that you have the Terra Surge available, which, mind you, is able to charge rate 2.5 seconds faster, which is massive. So they're getting that so much quicker, and you can't really escape the AoE.
Nice pick onto the Reaper. That Death Blossom will not come in play for this fight for George Fox. Now they're trying to focus down the Moira, get right in their face. That's going to be the next pick. George Fox has been reset yet again. They only have half a minute to recover.
30 seconds. And a monumental task ahead of George, because now they are getting staggered out. Sticky Bomb's just going to whiz by, but it's still Chosen on the high ground. Basically, at this point, they don't need to leave this docking bay, essentially. They're just a turret focusing damage down the funnel.
And oh, can this Moira get away? They're playing a duck and weave match right between the spawn, and Boise State wins that one as well. Meanwhile, there's been a sneaky take on the point. They are almost toward their second tick. 2 of George Fox are on the point, but Madmerk takes care of that with a Deadeye. Now there is only one support left. He's gone with the captive son from Lyric, and Boise State holds George Fox to nada, zip, zill.
Lucio essentially being like Icarus, flying way too close to the sun with that ultimate. Just incinerated from the inside out. As we get to take a look at the replay, and again, it's a really thought out play, even though you sacrifice 1 tick so far, as we go into the vortex of the universe there for a hot moment. That's exactly what we were looking at. We were looking at the past from such a distance and are attempting to now recover from that. But realistically, I'm hoping that George Fox realizes that their ideas are sound. The problem is, it's just that these picks and the accuracy from Boise State are just so weak.
I have to feel with the way Boise State's been playing, if we get one of the more cheeky compositions that can bring out all they need is to get past, I think it was 60% from George Fox, and they will have secured Hybrid as well, moving on to Flashpoint as the match point for a possible 3-0 sweep. We haven't gotten any peek. Oh, there we go. We're going to get the first one. A Sombra being brought out by George Fox. We've seen that being pretty consistent, though. That's been just about every single team comp that they've brought out so far in these 2 maps.
Woo! You know, I set a tall task with 30 seconds to get to the point. This is an even bigger tall task. Because all Boise State really needs is the initial tick. Like, realistically, if you want to even say that, but they're going to just look to try and get as much of this as they can. With a Roadhog selection, they're going to play super brawly and just go head first into this.
And it's that one spot they've wanted to have a fight with George Fox here for so long, and now they'll get it. Eliminations traded back and forth between these 2 teams before it starts out 4-4. First hook misses a teleport. That's a gutsy teleport by the Reaper right into the face. Is now going to just wraith on out of there. Moose just says, okay, he'll heal back up and then get ready for the next fight. Knockback from that Diva. They're going to prevent her from getting up to that ledge. Moose picks up the Lucio. Now trying to knock him back into the alleyway as the Reaper tries to land shots. Quick fan, the hammer is going to find it. Madmerk eliminating that Reaper. So desperately wanted a showdown with Moose, but Boise State denies it to him. Looks like they're going to deny this map as a whole in just a few seconds.
Yeah, the second tick going to come real fast here, as they have made some serious space from George Fox, and now all George Fox has to look forward to is an entire reverse sweep on this next match. And again, that map decides everything here to guarantee it. Also, I love that skin, by the way, Polar Bear. Yeah, that's the best skin. As we're going to see Madmerk just lay them to rest inside of the coffin. Halloween never dies. Halloween never dies.
And this was the one Deadeye to just keep any last chance of George Fox taking the point, just put them to bed. Boise State now sitting 1 away from a victory here. And then after they play this match, we'll have a match coming up, and I do believe 8 will be our Mountain West match for the night. Boise State is going to be going up against Hawaii, which can really be a wild card team. I know that their Valorant squad has really challenged the Broncos, so we'll see if their Overwatch squad can charge. The Broncos faced their rivals, UNLV, yesterday, won that fight, so they had already good morale going into this day. They'll have 2 wins behind them if they win this next Flashpoint round for the Mountain West match. So could be very exciting, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We still have to finish out this Flashpoint mount on, just like Hybrid, what is most likely going to be Servasta.
Yeah, and again, the wind beneath their sails, absolutely want to try and ride that as we get to that later on. But Saravasa, you and I have seen that countless times, and one of the biggest things that Boise State really understands about that map is just the spawn rotations, where the enemy is going to need to get caught out in that transition onto the new active point. And I would love to see that continue here from them, because it really does catch an opponent off guard, which we can already see that George Fox, even though they do have a very well-structured understanding of their process and how to counteract Boise State, it's just those subtle executions of, can they get there as a full team? Can they rotate as a whole? And can they deny these elusive picks that are coming through from Boise?
Man, I have never seen the Overwatch squad this happy. Goblin has his face.
Goblin's just like,
on
I'm
the
out.
Desk. He is just so overcome with giddiness. They're just cracking up, having a grand old time on there. And we can see all the players. Moose, Bagel again, Lyric off to the side as well. All of them just chipping on in. They'll have one more fight after this one, and then I think that's going to be it with Overwatch for the week. So this could be an early week close for the team. Could put themselves in great playoff position for both NACE and the Mountain West. But we all know that sometimes complacency can be the worst enemy of a team. So Boise State's just got to make sure that they don't get too lackadaisical and keep the good performance out for just this one match once more.
There's always a certain level of R&R that's required, but never enough to make it cold. That's how it's got to be. Because, I mean, even when we talk about in some competitions, I mean, even recently I was just at a LAN where you see them with those hand warmers, like, all day.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to go a hot second without keeping themselves, like, in peak performance. So I can definitely understand that. So wanting to make sure that they do keep themselves in their prime moving forward. But, you know, a breather every now and again, and maybe a quick play or two is always a good little deviation away from such competitive play like this. Because, again, the roster is one to really fear. And what we can see so far through this match, it's definitely still consistent.
I know I know the Valorant squad is usually playing some form of poker or something between matches. I mean, they'll end a match, pull it up on the other tab. You know, I call you there. Okay, I'm back into the next round. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Either that or if it were me, I'd be like an Uno player. Like we'd have like our Uno cards across the thing, and we'd just like be like, yeah, that's me. Okay, and again, okay, we're gonna come back again. I'm gonna get a wild card. We'll do a reverse. We'll do a swap. We'll just keep messing with each other. Like that keeps, I think, it a little lively. So that would be me personally if I had to play a game between some matches.
Yeah, it's always, you know, in my personal experience seeing people here at the arena, it's always people, it's either like some sort of poker or a card game, or it's chess that people use as kind of their side hustle.
That's their side hustle. I mean, with what we had, I mean, even with chess.com, I mean, ever since, you know, we talking now a while ago with the pandemic, everyone was playing chess remotely. So that's become just a very mainstream type of sidebar type of competitive play of even, you know, something as, you know, simple as chess, but also as complex.
Yeah. And it really is kind of a great It really is kind of a great metaphor for esports as well, because you get someone who might not be into the world of esports. They're trying to wrap their head around, you know, competitive video games. You know, why would people be interested in that? And then you just say, well, look at how popular chess is, and that's a mental game that's usually played online, and people usually go, oh, yeah, now I kind of see it.
Absolutely. And, you know, with this third map that we're just still waiting on, I believe there is just confirmation in the lobby as we are gathering and confirming what that will be. Maybe even potentially a technical issue as they're looking to connect on the opposing side. But ultimately, we can take a look at some of the replays here. Again, we get to see Matt Merck with this Deadeye and just being able to... Oh, no, wait, this is actually the other one. This is still that... Okay, we actually get to see this again because we went into, like, the... What is it? The Inception, like, where it's, like, all the different channels.
Yep,
so we went to Inception, but now we get to see it full force. Is that, again, even though George Fox was able to dive specifically onto the point. They had the right idea. If you're going to have Boise State try and play hidden, as they have, even in the control map and into here, why not force them away from that position and just get them to the point? But in doing so, when you have an ultimate economy like Boise State, because they never really had to use anything, they got the first pick instantly with a Javelin. The second comes out by Matt Merck. So they've been storing all of those resources to then unleash at that moment where now you've just got the short end of the stick as George Fox.
It's kind of a heads I win, tails you lose situation. Either you come the same route you did and you catch us waiting for you on a flank and we're going to take you by surprise, or you don't take that route and then we're just happy to claim the high ground and fire stuff on you from above, which I got to say, just the way the Boise State's Echo just came right out of the gate was just relentless. I don't think I can really discount how the aerial play from Boise State really just denied George Fox the ability to move around toward the end. That Echo was perched on top of a roof right next to the spawn, just aiming down at anyone who stepped a few steps outside of the spawn point.
Well, and when we take a look at, you know, how to counteract and mitigate the Echo, the Diva, great opportunity. The problem is that every time that there was any focus onto the Echo, you left yourself so vulnerable to Matt Merck, and those shots were landing consistently, which is why we were seeing outside of the Echo Ultimate generation, it was Matt Merck close behind, because you have to really pick this game of, do we opt to focus on the Echo and deny that aerial position, or do we try and play the ground game and deny and mitigate that incoming fire and then rely on your mobility to evade the shots from the Echo or the sticky bombs before getting into that critical vital health position where that focusing beam gets that double damage.
A lot of these comps that George Fox has been bringing out have really been focused on trying to get those quick eliminations, but the problem is when their tanks do contest onto Boise State, they haven't always gotten the full team fight that they're looking for. Maybe one DPS, maybe a few supports, but if those are getting picked off from Boise State at full distance, then that tank has multiple times just been trying to fight a battle all alone.
Yeah, and you never want to be caught out alone. I mean, when you're finding and again, it's because also Boise State's never playing the same book. Like, they're never going to the same play twice. They always keep it fresh, which is nice. Matt Merck taking an off angle behind Mundata's statue where you don't really see that George Fox is aware of it for that second pickup. The Javelin's just a wild, wild shot out the gate. Like, that's one of those things where it's a combination of skill and luck and everything lines up for you. Like, you get that through the tree and you're feeling Randy. You're feeling great. So that's one of those, oh, woe is me, we kind of go back to the drawing board. But when the second portion of it happens and it continues to go in that direction, then it's really on the agency of, if they rush to point for George Fox and all these ultimates are expended by Boise State, it's now our last opportunity in this engagement because they have forced out ultimates and we have to evaluate our ultimate economy. That's really the only thing that you have to hold to your name when you only have 60 seconds to go, and then they get punished by their spawn and they're locked into it.
Well, I have just received official confirmation. Sometimes enough is enough, and the towel has been thrown in for this particular match. Boise State has claimed it as George Fox bows out. So that's one win down for them in NACE Star League, one that they really needed. And now we'll just have to wait for the Mountain West match coming up in a little bit. But before we get to that, we want to leave you with the top 5 plays of the game. We'll leave you with some highlights brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have a multiple job offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. You can reach out to them on Instagram at iGuardIdaho. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with the Mountain West match in a little bit. But until then, throughout the break, enjoy some replays brought to you while we're waiting, and we'll see you soon.
It's not going to be too bad as they go in for the dive.
Oh, Moose. I mean, he's not going to care about any nerfs. He already picks one up against the Sombra, and then
more of this traditional composition from Boise State, nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, as you mentioned, the Malga nerfs are something to really keep an eye on, but if everyone else is still functioning in their composition the proper way, it's not going to be too bad as they go in for the dive.
Oh, Moose. I mean, he's not going to care about any nerfs. He already picks one up against the Sombra, and then
State, nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, as you mentioned, the Malga nerfs are something to really keep an eye on, but if everyone else is still functioning in their composition the proper way, it's not going to be too bad as they go in for the dive.
Oh, Moose. I mean, he's not going to care about any nerfs. He already picks one up against the Sombra, and then the Lucio falls shortly after.
Available, and Chosen also approaching theirs.
Kel holding on to this bomb. Just toss it out in the choke. Gonna hold on to it for now. Waiting for the push. Now dashes in. Almost gets the tracer. Goes in. The recall comes out. He's putting a lot of pressure onto the DPS's first pick for George Fox. They're able to get Chosen. But
really time their defensive for the overdrive to keep them alive and allow basically a large bagel to really keep them around that corner. And the AoE healing is more than sufficient.
That tracer almost got taken out when they dashed forward. Back down to low health. Goes through 4. That buff being shown.
Them alive and allow basically a large bagel to really keep them around that corner, and the AoE healing is more than sufficient.
That tracer almost got taken out when they dashed forward. Back down to low health. Goes through 4. That buff being shown to its full potential by Cal, and a moat for
their way around Boise State. But the problem is that Boise State is just really finding these unique angles, as you mentioned, both supports. And they're going to look to do this again. They've read this beautifully. And whether or not they take this pathway, they're still going to get the jump onto them, whether it's a solid flank or a collapse. Yep, they go right to the point. So now you're going to have to see the rush come in from Boise.
Here in Idaho, we do things a little differently. First rule, camouflage never goes out of style. Next, always use fry sauce. I mean, why wouldn't you? Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. We call it pop, not soda. We always put a lift on our pickups. And we always buckle up because we still have a lot we want to do, and I'm guessing you do too.
It's the end of a good day's work in Idaho. Time to punch out. Time to check in and catch up. Time to remind ourselves that what we work for isn't a paycheck. It's to make the good things we have even better. So here's to your good day's work. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe money is a thing. It's not everything.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown. Armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
You've been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead. I've been drinking Kool-Aid cameras like I did when I was 9, 'cause I like to pretend that I haven't lost the time. In the end, the nostalgia, though it tastes fine, I can only drink a couple 'cause it feels like a lie. We'd play Halo and we'd lay low in our basement until the sun began to rise. We would go to school but not learn too much, 'cause it's hard to read when you've got tired eyes. Months go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime. Years go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime. They've been with me for some time, and it's nice to know that they still by my side. Friends are like stars, 'cause no matter how far, when it's dark outside, they will be your light. We'd play Halo and we'd lay low in our basement until the sun began to rise. We would go to school but not learn too much, 'cause it's hard to read when you've got tired eyes. Months go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime. Years go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime. I'll go just alone, scratching my mind. I gotta keep asking why. Stop telling me all the time everything will be fine. I can't stop scratching my mind. I'm not your guardian. I can't see through your skin. I'm not your guardian. I can't see through your skin. Can't see through my skin. Yeah, I'm lost and numb, cold to the touch. I pretend like I don't remember your name. Every masterpiece built to blasphemy. When I close my eyes, yeah, I still see your face. We were the thunder and the lightning, burning fire that started from the spark. I was fading just to watch you twirl. It was us against the world. You were the rain falling on my skin. Yeah, I was dying where you pulled me in. I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world. Yeah, I'm paying gray, all dust and fade. When I call for you, all I hear back is pain. Every song must end, even diamonds fade. When the darkness comes, I count up my mistakes. We were the thunder and the lightning, burn fires started from the spark. I would spend it just to watch you twirl. It was us against the world. You were the rain falling on my skin. Yeah, I was dying when you pulled me in. songs that you watched me write. Stole your sweater on that night. You took a picture, keep by my bedside. So you're mine when you're gone, baby, please don't be long. I got my ticket to the west side. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. It was mine for the taking. It was mine for a million days, in a million ways. Stole your heart and I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine in a million ways, for a million days.
I'll take the blame. I've seen the world go down in flames. I felt the strain of every loss I can't reclaim. Our steps retraced from when we went our separate ways. I've missed these days. I never thought we'd see this place again. I know the feelings always fade, but nothing else could make me stay. It's not too late for us to slip away. I know the feelings always fade. It's not too late for us to slip I've walked this road, the one foretold would lead us home. Our fates unknown, but time will mend our broken bones. I've held the weight of all these years spent in decay. These times are strange. I never thought I'd see your face again. I know the feelings always fade.
Now, I want to get down to the simplest possible nitty-gritty.
Welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. We've got a Mountain West match between Boise and Hawaii ready to go in Overwatch. Boise State already won their first match of the day against George Fox, and now we'll see if they can end the week early with 3 wins in their pocket and a lot of time to bask in their glory. Look forward to the NACE Star League playoffs and most likely Mountain West playoffs as well. We're winding down the regular season, and to help call all the action, I'm your host, Jacob Palmer. I am joined by Rich Rad, joining us live right now from his studio. Rich Rad, we already saw a great performance by Boise State in the matchup against George Fox. Now they'll go up against a Hawaii, which is a little bit more of a wild card. Sometimes they really surprise us and are able to beat the Broncos, sometimes not.
Yeah, it's just exciting. I've been kind of sitting here almost in like a cage just waiting to be unleashed onto this next match because we had a very short match earlier that was coming out as a victory, as you mentioned, and now looking to see how they're going to fend off against Hawaii, which really can be, you know, kind of a turning point where things can shift away from them. But with how formidable they've been and what they've shown, and also their understanding of what the recent patch notes that just was brought today, really, and seeing some of the competitive information that I touched on when it comes to, you know, the championship series, there's a lot to mull over here before they go into this match.
Boise State, though, they had a great showing last time with a 3-0 sweep. We'll see if they match that with this particular match against Hawaii. Of course, if they want to do that, they'll want to follow the best advice that we can give them, and that is Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch. And Doc's keys to the game are going to be to never take a fair fight, and that means to take fights in unexpected places when your opponents are unprepared, and try to build up as much tempo as you can. It's all brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming is the right games and competition for you. Chosen really stood out on that last point during that last match. He decided to bring out the Echo on King's Row and already got a 75% ult charge in just one fight. So Boise State definitely knows that old adage of he who ults first can definitely win fights. And now I see, as we are on the bottom of our screen, we're going to be starting out on an Antarctica for our control stage.
Alrighty, that'll be exciting to get to see as we go into the frigid wastelands. And again, each one of these give a little bit of a different type of opportunity, more specifically when we talk about Icebreaker, which is where we're floating in on right now, which there's a lot of elevation that you can play to. Same thing when it comes to labs as well. A little bit more constricted in space if we do see that Echo come to the fruition again and be able to dominate. This map specifically, is I can already see at least some kind of pitter-pattering around, but that could just be the display for the moment as we're about to enter into game. But I would like to see the Echo still be a very high selected character going into this one, because it can be so devastating, especially if you know how to play the architecture.
Well, I will say think of that as our camera crew, okay, that helped us, that diva running around on the stage right now. So it isn't necessarily Boise State is running a diva. That was just, you know, the scouting party we sent out to bring all this great overview footage to you. But I got to say, Icebreaker and Labs can be very exciting, but I always look forward. I always look forward to the caves because, in my personal opinion, it almost kind of harkens back to Oasis a little bit. I think in Gardens, that vantage point that's right over the control point.
Absolutely.
But this one is kind of on a whole nother level. It's higher up, but it goes right into the center of the control point. So oftentimes we can have matches that start in the high ground, start to develop, and then they completely change around when the tanks decide to drop down to the low ground. Sometimes they can take out a squishy unexpected that way. Sometimes they can find some new life as teammates come in on the respawn. There's just a lot of ways in which matches can change very quickly due to that elevation difference.
Well, speaking of change quickly, outside of our lovely Cowboy Bebop feature,
I mean, we got penguins and Cowboy Bebop. What more could you want?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that was like the cleanest swap I've ever seen in my life, as we were about to see. It looks like it was going to be Icebreaker, but, you know, to talk a little bit and touch on before we go into this, I believe we're just waiting for confirmation since there was a reset. But yes, when it comes to sub-level, the architecture of it specifically, not only with that catwalk that basically leads into the middle position, similar to, like you mentioned, when it comes to gardens, is also just the 2 channel ways that are to the left and right on the same high ground position, where there's that window before the stairway. You can look to get some chip damage in there if you look to dislodge it, but most teams often than not try to take that initial neutral on the high ground, because whoever can manage to get that high ground first, even if they opt to lose the low ground to gain the first few initial percentages, they are very, very low in chance of being able to actually retain it, because the high ground does take the advantage. But we will take that strat once we do enter more so onto that map, whereas this time we're going to be entering onto Icebreaker, where unfortunately the Penguins are getting very acquainted with a ship that is no longer mobile.
Yeah, but we do get a change of pace. It is over in the daytime instead of nighttime, so whatever negligible heat difference that applies to the Penguins, I'm sure they appreciate that few extra degrees. Meanwhile, our teams get ready to charge toward the point where Boise State open up another 3-0 sweep, or will we see another 5-0 knockdown, drag them out
déjà vu.
fight? And did you know Cowboy Bebop is having a collaboration in Overwatch right now, Rich Rad?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so stoked about that collaboration, to be completely fair. Also, I feel like we just went through, like, time. It was just like, we just backpedaled and then had it, and then backpedaled and then had it. So I'm not knowing what's real anymore. As we're attempting to get final confirmation before entering into this. But yeah, Cowboy Bebop was one of those ones that I would used to go over to my friend's house and I would watch religiously whenever it was on. I did not have that station when I was a kid. Either that or like Dragon Ball Z, like, by the way. So like those were like the big ones that I was involved with. So I'm glad to see a collab like that come together.
Yeah, the collabs just keep getting more and more insane. I mean, Overwatch is a few years behind Fortnite in that regard, because Fortnite is just kind of becoming the universal game. Whatever show you're into, it probably has a collab on there. But Overwatch, there's a lot of ground, because I mean, if there's a collab in Fortnite, you know, everyone still has the same abilities, the same guns. But I think the difference in heroes and their builds really can lead to some interesting situations. You have certain characters that just line up more with certain heroes' builds.
Well, even just with the collab that they did with Porsche, where they have their Porsche, where it's, you know, with the Diva Mech, that thing looks amazing. I would love to see that in person and actually get to like sit in it, but I know that's never gonna happen. So I can only imagine from a distance at that point, because I mean, I thought about it, since it is like a life-size version. I don't even know if I'm small enough to get into that thing. I'm sitting here just like, I'm pretty sure that I am far too tall, and I'm going to look like trying to put like a 10-pound, like, into like a 5-pound container. Like, it's not going to work. It's just not going to happen.
The real question, I think, is if Blizzard is gunning for Nintendo's position, because Nintendo did the collab with Mercedes-Benz. Now, Blizzard answers with a collab with Porsche. What luxury car maker is next in the world of gaming that we are going to see brought to it?
We could only wait and see. I mean, it could be another title that manages to strip it away first, as we now, for hopefully the third time is the charm. These Penguins will be happy to see us, because we're hopefully staying, as I'm still going to believe that we are on Icebreaker, but we are residing back in the nighttime as the Northern Lights guide our way.
Penguins have definitely been the most loyal viewers thus far. Of course, when the round starts, the gates drop, and we hear Athena's voice tell us to head toward the point. Then I will get the full confirmation that we are ready to go, as we are still on Icebreaker. Boise State versus Hawaii, Mountain West. We're winding down the regular season, looking how these players, going to see how these teams are going to be looking in their performance heading into the postseason. Boise State in blue, Hawaii in red. As we are off to the races. Boise State already getting to the central point first. There's a bit of a flank off to the side from Hawaii. That Tracer might just try to pick someone out here or there, but looks like they have retreated. First time we're seeing the JQ be brought out, this time by Hawaii. Point unlocks in a few seconds. Can Boise State get a crucial first pick, as Hawaii is trying to get past that choke archway? Maga's going to go in with that charge, get the extra damage onto that JQ. Try to mow her down. She's going to have to use her commanding shout to try to keep herself and the team of Hawaii alive. And just like in the last match, off of positioning alone, Boise State has got the point and is starting to get points in their favor.
I mean, one of the significant differences, though, is Hawaii has a great presence of mind of knowing when to retreat and give ground and to not overcommit into this, because they actually still were able to get a decent amount of charge, not only on the Kiriko, but the Hanzo as well for their ultimate economy.
Swapped on over to the Battle Cattle for this go. There's support. Oh, I was about to say, taking a bit of damage. Bagel ends it with a beat. That's a nice nade thrown out too by Cassidy. And Moose is going to finish that up for him. Kel also gets the pick onto the other support. Hawaii down both their supports, trying to take this back. They only have their Tracer left. Their tank's caught out in Boise State's territory. It's a cleanup. One here, one there, and Boise State still has the point.
Yeah, the Canadian beats coming out right away here from a large Bagel, now approaching that sound barrier and also getting 2 other ultimates, specifically from the DPS, chosen ever so slightly behind, but this is a stack full that they can utilize against Hawaii, who's actually surpassed them.
Yeah, Hawaii actually is going into this fight with a lot that they can use. And they already got a little bit of a sneaky take from Boise State earlier, got 11% from them. And we're going to see the Kitsune rush to start things out. Great bomb thrown onto Boise State. Banana also gets in on the fun, taking out Matt Burke. Boise State has 1 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 support down. Make that 2, make that everybody. Hawaii takes back the point for themselves. This is what I want to see. We've got a good match lined up for us.
Yeah, much more formidable when it comes to the ultimate economy, being able to, like I said, just really understand their ebb and flow of how to get into these fights to not overextend, and that's a great pick coming out onto Matt Merck, which is going to give them even more time for Hawaii to generate towards that 50+%.
Boise State did this to great effect in their last match today, getting those early picks before the engagement starts. In Boise, right now they have Moose kind of just caught awkwardly back in his own position, having to heal up as they wait for Matt Merck to rejoin them. They'll move in with the Kitsune Rush, and they have a whole bunch of ultimates to use now. Bagel's going to get right in their face, try to take a flank route, and they just push Hawaii off the point. They lose their Tracer, but just like the first engagement, Hawaii knows when to hold and when to fold.
I mean, the biggest part of this, though, is only the Kitsune Rush had to be used for this. That single ultimate shifts this whole momentum where you had 3 prior from Hawaii. So now you have this ultimate economy to rotate through for Boise State, and they're on last fight.
Has to be here, has to be now. Hawaii having 2 ultimates they could use to take this back. Gonna get the Javelin against Moose, but he's got no problem for health. And Matt Berg lands one with the Deadeye. K-Tri thrown down. Keep that Orisa caught in this choke. The rest of the team moves in. He's just nailing them down from above. Moves in to pick up the other DPS. Charge right onto him. And Boise State picks them off 1 at a time. Their tank is all alone. Last chance. Buffed by the Kitsune Rush. And they've already used their Terra Surge, though that is going to be it. They have nothing left except that Javelin to fight back with. Boise State surrounds them, takes them out, and takes Icebreaker.
I mean, again, everything is just so, like, hell-spent on the ultimate economy. Hawaii committed, again, what they needed to take that previous fight. You can't fault them for that. Maybe they could have held on to one of them, which would have been a little bit more advantageous for them. But when you only have to forfeit the Kitsune Rush to completely turn this back for Boise State, especially with the early pick, you're sitting pretty. 80+%. You could toss 4 ultimates into this, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that regardless, even if your performance isn't that great. The ultimate is just going to surpass whatever the opponent can bring to the table. And there's no way that Hawaii can generate ultimates back fast enough in that short proximity of time that they're just sitting ducks.
Boise State now sitting out of position where they could take it here in Labs. The gates drop. Both teams go charging through. We see if Hawaii is still in the wed, which they are, they're still staying on this Orisa. Boise State has brought out the Doomfist instead. First time we're seeing him today. And already, look at the Orisa dropping down so low on health. Has to move on back for healing. Will be able to survive that, but Boise State, every single fight, they've moved right up to the choke and claimed the point first, just based off of that.
And this is something that we've seen a little bit more in Champions Series, as this, there is so much pressure onto it. It is instantly taken down. Oh my goodness.
It is just ruthless, and Kel taken down by 1 railgun shot. Large Bagel, though, still piling on the eliminations with a melee onto their hand, so trying to chase them back for a stagger. Won't go in too deep, won't get too greedy. They'll just claim the point for themselves and start on marching.
Keeping it nice. watchful eye on where their regroup position is. Boise State, again, being able to take that early elimination onto the Arisa is so key. There is some nice responsiveness to Deny, the way that Moose has been able to engage with the Doomfist, but once they get their cooldowns back up, they're just free to continue doing stuff like that.
Banana is gone. Boise State moves back just a little bit as Hawaii moves on to the point. Kel off to the side is able to take off their Cassidy. A move on in, a slice and dice, take out their support, trying to get rid of that Bastion on point. They get rid of Akami. They spent the Immortality Field. Once it goes down, that Baptiste falls on the point. Banana hanging on by just a few slivers of health, as is their tank. They get taken out by Chosen and Matt Merck respectively, and Boise State doesn't even let Hawaii get 1% on the board.
And again, we talk about the ultimates being tossed into this, and now Boise State still having so many beneficial neutrals, or really only having to commit one ultimate into these fights, is really paying dividends for them. They've got 3 ultimates, both supports, the Dragon Blade as well. They're sitting perfectly to counteract against the 3 that Hawaii has.
Hawaii trying to take the ground off to the side, but Kel has just had his targets locked. He gets a DPS and a support as well. The question is, where is that tank? They love separating that tank out from the rest of the players, and we got a hot pursuit against the Tracer here, just trying to get it a recall. Now he's going the other direction. Can he get it? He wants his prize. No, the Tracer is able to take him out, disrespecting Cal. Meanwhile, Boise State, they still have control of the point, but you know, you kind of wish Cal, he put in so much effort. He wish he could have gotten his prize.
And with now these only few seconds remaining, they have to rush to get back to this, which I'm really not even sure they're going to be able to get there to touch. It's all on Banana or the Tracer down below.
Oh, can they get revenge on this Tracer who so disrespected Cal? Moose is bringing out the Meteor Strike, forced on down. A beat is spent for Hawaii as Kitsune Rush used by the Broncos. Dash in as the beat wears off, and they're able to take out Moose, but they aren't able to take the point. They don't get a touch on it. Boise State claims it, and they win Antarctica.
Even though we were, seeing a little bit more competition from Hawaii, Boise State feeling it in their prime. They're downloading their opponent, and they're really understanding how to counteract this. And again, it's their reservation in utilizing their ultimate economy that has really persevered and saved the day for them. They are always able to either match 100% of what is coming to the table from their opponent, or they supersede them by their opponent overcommitting ultimates into that fight. So everything's really just falling into line for them, and it's looking a little dire here for Hawaii. But again, this is only the first map of Control, and once we deviate away from this, I'll be curious to see if that changes up.
Although once we do deviate away from Control, we tend to see 2 stages back-to-back that Boise State, just like any other team in Overwatch, have practiced to death. Of course, Hawaii, yes. I always love those teams that kind of bring out plays that aren't expected. I do believe if it wasn't last week, it was the week before, Boise State went up against UCLA, I believe, and UCLA chose Numbani as kind of an off pick and completely held the Broncos there. The Broncos really struggled on Numbani. But it won't be Numbani, it'll be King's
I was going to say, yeah, right when I saw that graphic, I was like, we ain't going there. So we go back to the tried and true, and again, what we're going to look to see, I feel, is the same comp that we had previously. I don't think that they're going to do anything different here because the Echo was so oppressive. It was just unmatched through and through, and it's really a key emphasis on Hawaii if they're going to actually look to try and focus that Echo down, if it's going to be brought to the mix, or if they're going to look to try and take more of a brawly engagement, because it was a more methodical type tactic when it came to George Fox. They wanted to take that stairway up to the high ground, get a solid rotate around, and then look for a diving flanking angle. Whereas I could see Hawaii being a little bit more brute force and want to go toe-to-toe as they have.
Well, I mean, George Fox, their first 2 routes were completely around the point, trying to take the high ground, that long route around through the alleyway, up back through the clock tower and to the second level. It just really didn't quite work out for them. So George Fox, I would probably expect them to maybe take a statue or maybe even a hotel route if they want to change it out just a little bit.
Yeah, I think the hotel route is an opportunity where you can maybe catch a couple of supports off guard, because Boise typically likes to keep theirs tucked into that back angle or have them up on the higher back high ground, which is also a very beneficial place, especially if you have those long sight lines with either a Baptiste or maybe an Ana. The Baptiste has been a little bit more prevalent when it comes to Boise State, so looking for that opportunity to house in that upper nook, especially because the boots allow you to get that elevated play as the Baptiste. There's a lot more outlets that you can play to really use those strengths.
Boise State has been on quite a roll in terms of Kings Row this week. Every single match this week so far, they have completely held the other team at the first point. I think Hawaii is going to be the toughest to pull that off in that regard.
We
my!
Have been
juked. We have been bamboozled.
My!
We
Our
are going
prod's saying, no,
instead.
guys. Our prod's just like, hold on, we gonna give them a little bit of a curveball. We played with them 3 times on the first map of Control. We might as well keep the shenanigans going.
All right. Well, hey, talk about a pleasant surprise. Eichenwald definitely been something that we saw earlier on in the NACE Star League. We're seeing it in the Mountain West now. And Boise State has had a good history on this. I'm seeing if the silhouettes are to be believed, and Hawaii is attacking first, that they are hovering over a Winston for their tank pick.
I'm curious how this is going to work out, because it kind of ties back to some of the discussionary pieces of information when we talk about the dive coordination and how their timing is going to be. Boise State with Matt Merck now on the absolutely dominant Wrecking Ball play. I have missed this, and am so looking forward to it.
It is his special, his comfort pick. He slams down right into the choke and has them all pinned down, rolls right through, getting a bit of damage, but they've managed to break through. He's trying to get the support in the back. Banana's going to trade with Boise State Zen. Matt Merck goes back to the point, is able to wipe out both their supports with the help of his DPSs. Boise State has all the healing gone from Hawaii, but Small Left is trying to do the best he can. He'll trade with Matt Merck, have to move on back, but this could be a nasty stagger. And with this Tracer, are they going to be able to put Hawaii in the stagger? It looks like the rest of the team comes in off the respawn, and we'll get a full team fight for both teams again.
Kel was trying for their life to get that elimination on the Winston, but now they're going to come back topped up and ready to go. But Matt Merck is at least able to regroup with the rest of the team and try and hold off this Tracer flank.
Matt Merck, you can see him. He's definitely trying to peel away, take off some sort of support in the backline. He goes in, slams down. The shield goes up from the Winston. We saw one pick from Moose, was able to get that Tracer. Lyric is also trying to land with the Orb of Discord. I always like that strategy. Kel, oh my goodness, before I get to that, Kel has a double. Takes out their Genji and also their Lucio. Boise State having a dominant hold on Eichenwald.
I just have to say, I am always mesmerized by Matt Merck's understanding of the technical rollout of this character. It never fails. It now continues to play forward like this, comfortable as all heck, and will regroup with the rest of the squad, looking for another defensive hold with already half the time bank on.
Kel could very well be going hunting here with this bomb to throw out. He throws it onto the back line, doesn't find anybody. That sure looked promising. Lyric has charged up his Transcendence as Kitsune Rush is used for Hawaii to push them past the choke and back onto the point, but Matt Merck is body blocking them with this Wrecking Ball. Transcendence brought out to keep him alive, and the eliminations start to pile up. Akami, then Banana, then Small. It's one after the other. Doesn't matter if they're a tank, DPS, or support. Boise State has them on their list and gets a complete team kill.
There's so much riding on the shoulders of Lyric there, where that Tracer's getting him in that sub 30 HP area where you could have forced out the Transcendence early to not have it for the later portion of that fight. But again, their just resilience and confidence in not only their positioning, but also their support assistance coming out by Moose, that they hold on for it long enough so that they can guarantee that fight.
They've already got a split. They've managed to go right in between the team and be able to catch them, push them back, and put a Captive Sun onto them. A lot of damage going on to their Genji. He'll be taken out. Matt Merck also got the Kiriko. There's just the Winston left. They surround him, and it is a cage match of gorillas in that fight. We've got a copy going on to the Winston. 3 huge gorillas in one room, but only one can leave, and it just might be Boise State as they place the Orb of Discord. Yes, they got him onto Small. Banana also falls. Boise State holds him yet again.
that was wildly chaotic, but still able to hold through it. And you saw the Primal Rage be forced out onto Moose so early in that they wanted to get the elimination, but everyone reconvenes back to give assistance so that the supports are still alive, and that gives them another lease on life here, with only 20 seconds now for Hawaii to try and get this initial tick.
I was just worried about where's the fire marshal.
Okay.
That many gorillas in that small of a room was just something to watch. Meanwhile, we see Kel went off the edge of the Tracer. We'll have to see how that plays out, because Boise State is now down a whole bunch more. They use the beat and the Genji blade to make their way through. They have taken out both the Boise State supports. Can they support their tank to move back onto the point? They've already gotten 2 ticks as Matt Merck is trying to spin to win here, buy some time from his team, slams right into one of the DPSs, into the Tracer, but there's just too many from Hawaii to face off. He and Kel are doing their best to stall out for the rest of the team. We've got Lyric now coming in off the respawn, but the rest of the team says, hey, let's wait this out. We'll give him the payload. We have plenty more to fight.
A slip-up indeed. I'd really love to see what happened to Kel there, but now it continues to happen where not only Lyric and Kel are just dying so early in these fights that this is going to give so much agency to Hawaii that they can continue to throttle forward and get these staggers out.
This
Moose is going to have to be really careful as well.
To push, but it is paying out for them. They've gotten Matt Merck down. They'll take him out, but Chosen is fighting back, taking out the Tracer and the Kariko, trying to regroup with their team and moving. Kel was catching them on a flank from the castle. Before they could even get back to the payload, he was trying to pick them off. Does look like Hawaii has recovered. He'll do a couple of dashes in, move off to the side to Akami, trying to work with that Orb of Discord, but Hawaii is just too bunched up and using the natural cover for anything to come of it right now.
Matt Merck now back into this minefield available. Captive Sun again could look to get some value, and they're actually going to force them back. The Transcendence, though, I feel is a little bit of an overzealous use here, but it might have been more defensively than anything else, as Boise State's going to look to try and hold on.
Matt Merck has been really good at chasing down these last few remaining squishies. They were able to get the Tracer and the Kariko. Makes a lot of space. Is trying to find the Winston. He found him. Will force them all back into the spawn room. Let him know that any millimeter outside of that yellow wall is going to be dangerous territory. Throws the minefield out onto the Lucio with the Orb of Discord and just melts him in a split second. And now the Primal Fury being used by their tank in a fight that can no longer be won. That is beautiful play by the Broncos.
Disassembled like C-3PO. This is now 45 seconds, the final stretch here for Hawaii to try and break the spawn position, and it's not going to be a good one as you've got a duplicate online.
1-2 punches, and we got another copy, and we have got so many tanks up here. We got the Wrecking Ball and 2 Gorillas, and Matt Merck continues on his elimination streak, takes out the one true Winston. Kel is able to get Genji. And this is just ugly for Hawaii. They now only have this Genji blade to possibly push through, then they've swapped over to the Diva.
A lot of scientists coming out on this battlefield for the moment. As you can see, aggressively though, Kel gonna try and turn this back around despite them being down the support. Oh, both are down though. This is where Hawaii can take the turn.
We'll see if they can turn it. I think when Lyric got picked out early in the fight last time, that's what allowed them to take the payload itself. Also with Kel, sometimes Boise State makes mistakes. Hawaii can capitalize on them. They got 2 on the payload, but they also got their Genji here awkwardly caught back in their own spawn, and Boise State just surrounds him, gets an easy pick for that. Hawaii still pushing forward and making a lot of space for themselves, now past 80 meters and under the bridge. Lyric goes charging in, puts the Orb of Discord out. Can he get a quick pick? Pulse Bomb being thrown onto Kel, and he has to use the Transcendence to keep alive. Matt Merck rejoins him on the payload, drops the minefield, making it a lot more difficult for Hawaii to continue to push forward. They gotta move in, and they fell off the edge to boot. Small left is gone. River God and Banana are next to follow, as well as Akami. Boise State is able to hold Hawaii to 88 meters.
That's so unfortunate. The angle of the DMAC happened where the Diva's back was towards the pit just between the bridgeway and the side room. So they fall to their demise right at the end of that. You'll actually maybe be able to see it in this replay clip where after this Transcendence ends, there it is. They're just on the edge, so they're kicked out of the mech off the edge. They don't even have the chance to try and re-mech afterwards in this engagement, so they've lost all value. And then again, with Lyric able to just have a longevity enough time with that Transcendence, it gives Matt Merck time to set up the minefield and really look for those necessary knockbacks to either hit them into the mines or get them into a very uncomfortable position.
I think most that Boise State did beautifully is Hawaii just couldn't recontest as a full team. Constantly, Boise State put staggers onto them and then had a few people patrolling around the spawn just to get easy picks on those staggers. There was never a time where there was more than basically 3 people from Hawaii ready and able to fight near the payload.
No, not at all. And now that we take the swamp asides, we're going to see if Hawaii is able to hold defensively against this. They were able to get, I would say, a decent distance for how well Boise State held on the initial point and were able to come back in that dire stretch. This is still a worthy push. Of course, you would have liked to reach that second checkpoint just so you have that little bit of extra necessary time and also distance to have to cover, but they need to dwindle 3 minutes at least off this initial clock to feel confident to compete against Boise State, as you can already see Matt Mark playing so far forward.
We also got Chosen back onto the Echo, a deadly pick for him as he is very effective on it. But Small is going to be the first one to get a pick. He takes out Kel. Boise State now down their tank as well, and Chosen, as good as he is on the Echo, cannot face Akami, mowing him down with the help of the Lucio. Hawaii has a successful first hold against the Broncos.
This is where I think Boise bit off a little bit more than they could chew. They've been playing very aggressively, and it's worked out well for them. But now when it came to Hawaii being able to land their shots and actually take the fight to them, it now leaves them to force a compositional swap here, a drastic one too.
Moved over to the Roadhog and the Bastion. Matt Merck already landed one hook onto Akami. Got a stagger onto Hawaii. Kel trying to find a flank route through the hallways. Akami back, trying to get him from behind. He's now has attention split up and is eliminated by the Genji. And now Hawaii's tank has gone on to the point to fully contest with the Broncos and make space for Hawaii. Matt Merck's hook is blocked by the environment, and Boise State is retreating yet again. Akami eliminates Lyric. They're trying to get the Genji, but has to move back. He is having a really tough time finding targets with his hook, but they are starting to recontest. Move back, a miss again on the hook. I don't know if he can really get past the tank to all those targets he wants to land. Chosen gets in a Tracer face-off, wins it. Boise State has to face off a Kitsune rush that Hawaii has just spent. This is a very long, drawn-out engagement. Boise State was able to get a first tick on their first push. River God takes out Kel. And with that one pick again, I think Boise State might just have to retreat. Moose, though, trying to even it up. Brings out the Captive Sun, has him lined up, lands it onto the tank, has to throw out the shield. Chosen eliminates River, and it is very chaotic, very scrappy. 1-to-1 trading.
There was a 1 HP on Small with this Winston, and if they don't get that barrier up with the Captive Sun, this goes drastically different. The good thing, at least to Boise's name, is they got one tick, and they have made a massive shift in adjustment. But these pickups coming out from the Genji have been absolutely dominating for Hawaii.
And Lyric has swapped over to the Ana. That Zen has basically been a sitting duck for Hawaii just to pick up, and Ana can do some great things. Boise State swapping over to the tanks. They've gotten the Junker Queen out from Matt Merck, just trying to get that sustain through, trying to prevent those early picks. They're trying to get their second tick now. They're going to be able to get Hawaii to spend both of their ultimates. They spent the Beat and Genji Blade, but it's turning into Boise State, falling by the wayside. Kel, Lyric, and Moose down and out. Chosen and Matt Merck trying not to stagger and get back to safety.
Right at the 3-minute marker, like I said, this is a perfect position Hawaii to put themselves in. It's now going to be the Kitsune rush as the nail in the coffin, but Chosen attempting on this Tracer to turn it about.
Matt Merck eliminated. The tank is gone. The Rampage, or the ante, was spent onto Guk. They were able to get him, as well as Banana. Boise State, with those two, have turned things around. Hawaii throws out the pulse bomb from the Tracer, is able to land it against Lyric, but they gotta fight on the point. The Winston now comes in. Another pulse bomb thrown out. Akami landing it. River God also with the Kitsune rush to retake the point. Boise State gets another tick, but they've held the Broncos away from the payload and might be looking at an upset victory here on Eichenwald. It's the last chance for Boise State to take this back. Matt Merck waiting for whatever teammates to come in on the respawn. Moves in, but is far away from his Rampage. Hawaii far away from all of their ultimates, except for the Primal Fury, which is gonna come out from Small. They're moving up toward their second point. They cannot afford to get off the point.
Oh!
What a pick by Matt Merck right when the Primal Fury came online and also gets rid of the Genji. Boise State has a chance to take this payload yet. The Rampage comes online, instantly brings it out, but moves off the point. Oh, they almost C9 that one. But they managed to get back on the payload and claim the first point for themselves.
That was wicked. To see Matt come in barely able to get the Rampage, and then they really thread the needle here to get off the point to land it for 2, and Chosen hops onto the point. That tactical visor as well comes in just in time for Kel to give them the extra influx of damage, as now they have 2 minutes to go, but they're not out of this yet with the way the Hawaii's playing, and gets another pickup on the support.
The dive composition Hawaii has really been used and it's effective. We've seen Boise State stand up against the dive so far today, but Hawaii is now really giving a run for their money. Moose spending the coalescence, but Matt Merck is already down and out for the count thanks to Spall. Luckily for the Broncos, they don't have to move too far forward. They have enough time to get to this sparking spot. Look at Moose moving right up into their faces, picks up one of their supports, picks up River. Is now out after the other Akami trying to get away, taken out by Matt Merck. Moose picks up one with the orb onto the Genji. Small, a melee back onto Boise State. Boise State has 4-3 right now. Hawaii brings out their Primal Rage. Moves back onto the point. Boise State hasn't gotten too much push quite yet, and that Primal is able to get the Winston back up to the bridge, but he just has a nade stuck right onto him. And now Hawaii doesn't have their tank as they're coming in from the respawn. River bites the dust, and that Genji is also short on time. Boise State now has just a little bit to go to claim the point.
Hawaii led with chaos, but Boise State with a level head worked through and actually cause a complete Uno reverse here. They are able to turn it on its head and now have the advantage in the last home stretcher with 40 seconds. Hawaii's got to go in, and they've got 3 ultimates to their name.
But if it's to win the fight outright, they'll gladly spend them. They've already spent one, and they're able to pick up Moose. Kitsune Rush as well, and the bombs have been landing today. That could be a huge wild card thrown in. But not if Guk and River do work themselves. They've got Matt Merck and Kel and are pushing Boise State back. There's 20 seconds left. Lyric trying to get away, almost has the speed, which could be extremely crucial for Boise State survivability. Matt Merck also getting close, and Kel with the Death Blossom. This last few seconds is going to be chaotic.
The big thing is that they lost 2 ultimates in that previous fight. They only have the pulse bomb to work with. Sound barrier is going to give them the tempo to get back into this now.
They move in, use the sound barrier first off, but it doesn't hit too many of the Broncos. But the Death Blossom is sure coming through, takes out Banana. Akami eliminated Small Left, gets a pick onto Kel, but it's the only pick Hawaii has. Boise State just needs to take out this tank. They take out the Diva, a Meteor Strike for good measure. Moving on in, and Boise State claims Eichenwald by the skin of their teeth.
Wow. Just every now and again, I just have this moment of awe where Boise State just looks so, like, outmatched for the moment, and then they pull it back together and they come out on top. There is some recognition, though, coming in on the opposing side for the way that they've played. You cannot say that this was a very complicated fight between the two, but Boise State still being able to outmatch Hawaii. And that, I feel, is going to be one of those moments where they really have to take a moment because they're rattled at the fact that they had such a dominant hold on Boise State, and just in the end, it slips through the cracks.
Yeah, I was thinking, it was in my mind before the last 20 seconds. I was already kind of gearing up to reset it as a tied 1-1, but yes. Boise State came in, but that was until I saw the 90% charge on the Death Blossom, and then I'm like, You've got a beat and a Death Blossom. There's your recontest, and then there's your damage to clear them out.
Well, even the Meteor Strike, too, like, you have that as an emergency case where you can just completely elude yourself from the fight to try and follow up onto somebody, because they're going to have to play close to the point to try and contest against it, because they need to keep it under contention or it's going to keep moving forward. So that even more when it comes to spatial dominance, not only from the Death Blossom, it also pairs well when it comes to the Meteor Strike.
Also, 2 very unfortunate environmentals for both teams. It was Kel a little earlier in the match, and then the Diva a little later. And I don't normally think, Eichenwald has its moments for environmentals. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't come first to my mind when I think of crazy environmental kills.
Yeah. far few in between, to say the least, when it comes to that kind of map. So, but, you know, I mean, we'll allow it to be one of those things. I mean, granted, Kel was the one that was most significant. The fact that Kel was out of that fight gave so much agency to Hawaii. The Diva one, of course, was, you know, an unironic, you know, DMAC towards where the positioning was, but it's those kind of little micro plays that can give Hawaii the opportunity, and they will gain ground from it. If you slip up, they will not let it go unpunished. That's the one difference that I'm noticing most specifically when we look at these two fighting up against each other versus what we had from George Fox. Not to say that they couldn't play on the weaknesses, it's just Hawaii is much more effective and quick to those responses to be able to exploit them.
And we'll head on down to Zavasta to decide it all. Will Boise State pick up their 3-0 sweep and end tonight with a week of victories? Or will we see an upset? Hawaii is just getting a little bit closer every single match. But you can't say that this map choice is an off pick. Boise State has played this one to death, and this is where I think this first fight, I've said it before that I think the first fight is going to decide it all based on how well Boise State can just rotate to those other flashpoints. But Hawaii, it's just a matter, I think, if they can catch Boise State out on those mistakes. Because I do agree with you, that's the main difference. Hawaii is a team that will punish the Broncos if they make a mistake.
And now as we enter into our potentially final map of the evening, it's do or die here for Hawaii as they have been able to match blow for blow a good margin of the time, but have always found themselves, unfortunately, getting knocked in the chin in those last moments. As the seconds continue to dwindle, Boise State going to use the Junker Queen again here and opting to go with Chosen onto the Brig for more of a close kind of brawly, sustainable composition.
Already you got Kel hunting out for any potential supports or that Tracer, who has been a huge target of Boise State's flanks. Kami is going to start things out, taking out the pylon. Matt Merck gets one onto River. That's a lot of healing now gone for Hawaii. They have that Lucio, but they're pushed off of the point. Their JQ is onto the point, and it's landed. Lyric takes them out. Boise State wiping them all out, taking the flashpoint for themselves.
Again, we also have to really understand how vital it is to get this point first, because it does charge ever so slightly faster than the regular control point. And with the dominant position played by Boise, it's going to guarantee that they hold this for at least 50% of it, unless they get outmatched here, but a nice recall comes in.
Shout used by Hawaii wears off. Now they have to face the full might of Kel. Lands 2 shots against the Genji, takes him out. Moving forward, they're a little low on health, but Lyric healing them up well, allowing Moose to do his thing, landing a knife against Small. Once again, Boise State pushing Hawaii back, who only has one more opportunity, I'd say, to take this point back.
This is so aggressive, and again, like I mentioned, plus 50%. Boise State's in a prime position for Hawaii to get one last attempt in this, and they have the ultimate economy to completely counteract this, and then it stages them to go to the next flashpoint in a position of where they can either cut off the opponent, or they can just completely deny them from getting it first.
Some of these Deadeyes have been a very surprising amount of people that they claim. Rally spent by Boise State as well as the Deadeye, but the bomb lands onto Lyric before it can all happen. But Maverick's going to say, I'm going to even it up myself. Pulls out a double. Chosen and Kel also clean up. It's a team kill for Boise State and a flashpoint at that.
And here's the thing, is they carry over Pulse Bomb and Rampage. They're going to gain this and then have the dominant positioning, and they really only have, I mean, they'll have another Rampage to counteract against it, but they've got the Kitsune Rush. That's the thing that I'm focusing on most specifically from Hawaii, that they're going to have to use that to their advantage to try and either get the damage early onto Moose, or just try and mitigate and elude the Junker Queen's Rampage with potentially a Suzu to sustain through it, because Boise State does not have that cleanse.
Rampage brought out to start things out instead of the Kitsune Rush, and it lands onto Chosen. He used that ante to get him down and out of the fight, but now Boise State has used their own ante and the knife as well to take out. Boise State has been consistently out JQing Hawaii. There's only one on point. This Hanzo trying to face off against this Tracer, who now tries to recall, goes in for the quick melee. Boise State claims the second point.
Kel, duck, dodge, diving, and dipping right now. I would hate to be that Hanzo where I cannot keep tabs on this Tracer that's 5 feet in front of my face. That's just despicable. And now they've got this pulse bomb to hold here for Boise as well.
That's probably one of the heroes I would least like to go up against a Tracer with, because you draw your bow and already she's blinked on out of there. You aren't able to get
30%.
one arrow out of it.
Now 30% in a prime position again to put themselves in a dominant position. The Kitsune rushes go, though.
They move in, and that pulse bomb's very close for Akami as well. Boise State has nothing to fight this one in terms of ultimates. Lyric getting very close to that captive son. Hawaii needs a quick pick here, and they have got a chance with that bomb coming online. And they do have Moose down to very low health, as well as Kel, and Lyric eliminated before the captive sun can be used. But Moose turning things back around, getting rid of their tank. Madmerk with the Deadeye that comes online immediately picks off Banana, and Boise State just keeps surprising us. When we think Hawaii has an edge, Boise State takes the complete reverse sweep against Hawaii in these fights.
River God is doing everything imaginable to keep Small Left alive. The Suzus, the healing, the just damage assistant, everything in their power to keep Hawaii holding on this front line, and it's still not able to survive through what Boise's recovery method is. But that's a little overzealous, and Rivers is going to shut them down.
This is the last chance. It could be a good opportunity. Captain Sun though brought out to push Hawaii back, and River God bites it. Matt Mark also picks up Agami. All of the low health targets are gone. Just Small is left to fight by himself. He gets taken out by Kel. And again, the Broncos just keep surprising us. Hawaii gets an early pick. Boise State spends an ultimate in response and gets a whole team wipe.
Such clean responsiveness. And now we're reaching on to the last point, which this will favor Hawaii, which is good for them. The RNG has given them a new opportunity to try and get at least one of these points to get some momentum back into this. And also, Kel, I think, has just been holding on to this since last night. Like, that pulse bomb has not been used at all because they've had no need to.
Flashpoint unlocks. Hawaii is already positioned on it, but we'll have a rampage to bring it back. The ante goes on to Guk. They'll have to spend the beat to try to keep themselves alive. Boise State also spends their beat. Bomb thrown out as well as Deadeye from Hawaii. They're spending everything to try to take back this point, but no, Broncos are falling. Instead, Agami, very low on health, might be the first. Madmerk charges up his Deadeye, ready to bring it out onto the point, putting a lot of damage onto Small. The rampage comes out, but they're able to get Guk, and Banana falls as well. Even though 3 got hit by the rampage, Boise State doesn't lose a single person and takes the point back from Hawaii. A complete team kill.
Yeah, once Matt saw the rampage windup, he had to play aggressively. They knew they don't have anything like the Kiriko to get the cleanse onto it to survive through it, so they just had to surpass them in damage before they're able to get punished with the lack of no healing capabilities. So it was a great play by Boise State to just recognize that and say, we have to go. Like with the Junker Queen passing us and leading into the back because the rampage, we just need to kill them faster than they can kill us. And that pick is also going to be devastating with Moose getting that shutdown.
Not only the Tracer, but that bomb will be taken out for a few seconds. Isn't the final fight, but we're rapidly approaching that territory. Now, Hawaii might actually be the final fight if Boise State is just keeping Hawaii at bay for this long. This is a long time before they're able. They're split up so the Lucio speed boost can't go onto all of them. Boise State is just
cannot get taken down right now. Monger has to survive.
Matt Merck first eliminated. And will that Genji survive? Small is able to get the pick onto Moose. The last chance for Hawaii to take it all back. They get Lyric. They get chosen. Boise State falls. Kel still going to get one onto Okami, trying to take it back in the Tracer, but only manages to take out one. Hawaii takes the point back for themselves.
Still a chance now for Boise State. I would have liked to potentially see them keep that captive son from that initial just couple of picks that came through. They wanted to hold on to it. They thought they could turn it, but this time around, it is going to bite them in the butt. And now really only have the Deadeye and the Rampage to work with as they approach into this once again.
Hawaii also has the beat to be able to negate any sudden burst of damage Boise State brings out. They're going to use the Kitsune rush first. Boise State spends their shout. Madmerk moving in with the Deadeye. Hawaii getting out of the way of those sidelines. Deadeye won't pay off. Beat expended, but Banana! Madmerk just throws the nade onto him. Burns through all that health. And now their Genji is really low as well. And the Rampage going out onto multiple. I think 3 from Hawaii is going to take out Agami. Small left and Guk are soon taken out afterwards. River falls. and Boise State has claimed the third and final flashpoint to win it all. They're just a little bit of a stagger trying to keep it alive for Banana, but it's not going to be enough. The Broncos have won this one and swept all their Overwatch matches this week.
That's so disgusting. You can see that the Tracer gets clipped by the Rampage, then dashes in front of the Rampage a second time to get the double stack of damage, and then reapply the anti-heal. So they're so low that all you need is a quick swing to just get a single shot from the Junker Queen to eliminate them. It was just so dirty, and it just made that even more like salt in the wound here for Hawaii. Is that's a 3-0, as you can see right there for this Mountain West Conference. Boise State takes the win, and this is a roller coaster of emotions, to say the least.
It's been quite a week. UNLV, George Fox, Hawaii, WWW, and especially with UNLV, they're kind of the biggest threat against Boise in the Mountain West. That means Boise State is finishing up the Mountain West season, facing all of the teams that they could possibly meet in the grand finals and winning all of those matches. So that's got to be an amazing feeling to head into playoffs with.
Oh, absolutely. You kind of just like start nailing in your certificate in the wall. You've not put it up yet, but you've at least got where it's going to go ready.
Yeah, Boise State. Oh, man, I'm looking forward. And again, to those who don't know the history of Mountain West, this is such an important year because if Boise State wins it, then they'll take the all-time record of Mountain West championships away from UNLV because both teams are tied at 3 apiece right now. So it's going to be a great championship, I can just say that. But we had a great day here calling these games, a lot of unexpected moments and great performance by the Broncos. Do you have any final thoughts, Rich Rad?
I mean, just keep playing like you're playing. Just make sure you don't get too cozy and you don't find yourself kicking your feet up too soon, because there will be teams that will take advantage if you allow yourself to get a little soft.
We saw a little bit of that from Hawaii and UNLV, so we'll see if all that rod reviewing in the next few weeks might have an upset victory against the Broncos in the playoffs. But for now, the Broncos are victorious, and we will leave you with the top plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. Invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have a multitude of jobs offering over a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. So if you want to reach out to them on Instagram, you can find them at iGuard Idaho. That's going to do it for us, though. Jem and Rich Rad are signing off for tonight. We hope you have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow with Valorant. For now, have a good one. With this Wrecking Ball Transcendence brought out to keep him alive, and the eliminations start to pile up. Akami, then Banana, then Small. It's one after the other. Doesn't matter if they're a tank in one room, but only one can leave, and it just might be Boise State's as they place the Orphan Discord. Yes, they got him onto Small. Banana also falls. Boise State holds him yet again. Why to continue to push forward? They gotta move in, and they fell off the edge to boot. Small left is gone. River God and Banana are next to follow, as well as a rally spent by Boise State, as well as the Deadeye, but the bomb lands on the Lyric before it can all happen. But Maverick's gonna say, I'm gonna even it up myself, pulls out a double. Chosen and Kel also clean up. Brought out to push Hawaii back, and River God bites it. Matt Myrick also picks up Agami. All of the low health targets are gone, just Small is left.